Thank you, Solomon Kawesa. NTV Uganda has hit yet another milestone. Tonight, we celebrate 100,000 followers on Twitter. NTV Uganda is the fourth handle in Uganda to have 100,000 plus followers. In particular, NTV Uganda is the only media house that has so far hit the 100,000 mark. Now, in fifth place is the Daily Monitor, New Vision is 10th, and the Observer 23rd. Other companies that come close are MTN Uganda, Airtel Uganda, KCCA, Uganda Media Center, Umeme Limited, and with the electronic media, Urban Television at 130th position. UBC TV comes 224th, while NBS comes at 229th position. On average, newspaper circulation a day is at 100,000. This means that the station reaches more people than all the newspapers combined. There are over 200,000 people on Twitter in Uganda. Of these, only between 45 to 50,000 are active users. NTV is proud to have the attention of over 100,000 people, and of course, we do thank you for your support. Now, on NTV Take 5 tonight, I'm joined by Peter Andrew Mugara, NTV social media specialist, and Michael Niitejeka, an IT consultant, to put this milestone into perspective. Feel free to join the conversation on Facebook and on Twitter. We're talking matters social media. Welcome to NTV.
Thank you.
Well, you're not a visitor.
No, I'm not a visitor, please.
You're a part of us.
Yeah.
Michael and Peter here to talk about social media. Of course, we have celebrated, like you've had, this major milestone. What's the big deal? Why the hula baloo? I'll start with you, Michael.
I think 100,000 is an endorsement. Is an endorsement that people believe or people follow what you're sharing with them. And yes, the hula baloo is nothing. I would say the big event is really to say it's a huge endorsement to say you are in touch, you're engaging, and there is value that you're providing. Because if there's no value, nobody wants to follow you.
Absolutely. Peter, you are in touch with our followers a lot more often than the rest of us are. What is the relevance of 100,000 followers?
100,000 basically symbolizes the fact that we provide, people trust what we provide in terms of news and relevant content. If we do not have relevant content, offering relevant conversation that's pertinent to the country and the community, we would not hit 100,000. On average, on a daily, we have about 65,000 Twitter followers. Our Twitter followers active on Twitter.
That's a huge number.
That's a huge number. That means that at every one point, whether somebody has traveled to the farthest point of his country and they can't get TV signal, but they have a telecom network, they can still access our news updates that we post every day. They can get breaking news, anything that has happened anywhere that we have our footprint at is delivered to their handset as soon as it gets here.
Michael, what would you say to somebody who is on the fence? What's the point of social media anyway? Maybe we should have started there.
I think we can't run away from social media. The fact that we couldn't run away from internet. I know a couple of years ago, when you told someone that are you on Twitter, are you on Facebook, they would say that's a place where people are making a lot of noise. But we're increasingly beginning to see that there is a return on investment. So the more you engage, the more value you get out of it. And so for me, it is, if I was to tell someone who's sitting on the fence, I would say, if you're not there, someone else is, and there is value that is being generated. I mean, in Uganda, the ages between 18 to 35 take about 70% of the people on social media in Uganda. And you will agree with me that is a very captive age. Either they are engaging with you or they're finding someone else.
Your competitor, perhaps.
Or your competitor, perhaps. And so it is important that you're there. It is important that you are engaging. It is important that there is value that you're contributing. Because if there's no value, I can assure you, they will unfollow as quickly as they followed.
Should traditional media be scared? Radio, TV, newspapers? Peter?
Yeah, I think it should be scared because, you see, our mobile phones are are changing at a very fast rate. And social media and the need to connect with people instantly is driving this. The handsets are coming out and are being optimized to use social media, to give the social media user experience better, make it faster and instant. So with time, social media, the social media part of the world is going to get so relevant. Because, for example, NTV needs to have its viewers at par with us at every one time. If somebody's in office and they cannot access their NTV via the television screens, then they would have to, and they have some nice fancy gadget, mobile handset, they can still get informed by NTV. So it's something we can't do away with. You know, Twitter smacks a little bit of seriousness.
Snobbish.
Not snobbish, seriousness or elitism, if I may use that word. And so you find relevant conversation taking place on Twitter. No offense to our Facebook followers, we love them a lot, and they too have relevant conversation. But Twitter has a very serious type of banter going on.
I am inclined to agree with you, but we're fast running out of time, and I still have a couple of questions to ask. Michael.
Yes.
What do you have to say about organizations that do not allow social media? I'm glad you brought up offices. You know, I know there's internet on our phones, but a lot of organizations do not allow their employees to engage on social media while at work. They call it a waste of time.
I one time was running a meeting and facilitating a workshop, and one manager stood up and said, we don't allow guys to have access to Facebook and Twitter. And I said, do your managers have BlackBerry or your supervisors? If he had a way, he would have thrown the bottle of water he had in front of him, because there it was. I'm saying, look, it's important that we try to understand how we can get value out of it. And for me, the question is, if I were to ask, how do I turn that, what is the return on investment for the 100,000 people that are following me? For the bank, how many of the people that are following you? So it's not just a question of people that are following you, but what is the value of the people that are following you? And so how do I turn my funds, if I'm a bank, into bank account holders? And many of us are not yet, and are not thinking that way. We're now thinking every morning, how many do we have? 25,000. The next day, 26,000. So you celebrate. But what is the return on investment? Because there's an investment that you're putting in. And so we need to start thinking that way. And that conversation is a different conversation. To get people to start thinking that way is a different conversation.
Okay, Peter, quickly, what do our viewers usually engage on? Or generally, what do they prefer, you know?
A lot of the conversation we have on our social media platforms is mainly generated by what's in the news. Of course, you'll have, once in a while, you know, all our in-house programs have Facebook pages and some have Twitter pages. So at times you'll have a conversation on those pages, and they all have about an average of about 10,000 people on them, especially on Facebook. And so it's originated by what's in our news, what was on a certain popular show last night. So that's the conversation.
The product.
The product,
really,
the product that we give out somehow shapes the conversation on our social media platforms. Okay,
finally, Michael, what's the reach compared to, you know, traditional media? Is it 5 million? Is it I don't know. What's the comparison between social media and traditional media?
I think social media is getting to more people than traditional media. If you put it, let's say newsprint, combined traditional media definitely reaches more people because you have the repeater component. I read it in newspaper, it is on radio, I see it on television. But increasingly we're going to see more handheld devices or internet-enabled devices taking a lead, and it's not going to happen tomorrow or in 2 years' time, but it's going to increasingly have that. And I think the earlier the traditional media start thinking about how to integrate social media, and I'll end it with this. A salesperson walked into the office at one time and said, we have this supplement we want you to participate in. And I said, okay, what is the value? He said, I will sell 30,000 copies. I said, good. How come you've not included your internet viewers on Facebook? And he said, see, those are very many. I said, well, many has never been a number. And so what I'm trying to drive at, the sales guys still look at social media as They haven't integrated it into this whole thing. So the earlier traditional media begins to integrate that and say, look, I have 100,000 people that view me every day on Twitter and social media and generally, and I can put, that's my value proposition, the earlier they will be relevant. Otherwise, you're going to see smaller platforms coming up and they'll promote you on social media.
To put it bluntly, they need to get with the program.
Maybe, yeah, something closer to that.
All right. Yes. Thank you so much for coming out to talk to us about social media. That was NTV Take 5 talking about social media in light of NTV reaching 100,000 followers on our Twitter page. Once again, congratulations to you and many thanks for supporting us.